Hello and welcome back to the Sausage Keb podcast. I'm John and I thought I would just do a little bit of a BTCC weekend review roundup basically after the dust has settled at Silverstone. So what I've done here is I have got the British Touring Car News page up and I'll just quickly go through some of the main items from the weekend. So again, it was an absolutely fantastic weekend for the championship. Um, Mainly down to Turkington having a bit of a slip up in race one, puts him to the back for race two, and he has to bring himself back in for race three. But really, with the amount of points he managed to grab that weekend, it was nothing in comparison to his main contenders, who were all jostling somewhere above at the front in the top 10. So I'll just scroll down just now. There's a bit of news there. It talks about Rory Butcher's hat-trick of podiums. He had an absolutely fantastic weekend. And I can't help thinking that if Rory had had a bit better luck, maybe a bit better balancing of the car earlier on in the season, then we probably could have seen Toyota Gazoo up there for the title contention as well. Bobby Thompson, he had a good weekend as well for the Jack Sears Trophy. And there's a few other stories, but I'll just get through this now. So we'll just have a little look here. Race one, I'm just talking about him there. Rory Butcher, he won this one. He took off away off into the distance. He looked like he had absolutely fantastic race pace. But then there was a safety car, which brought Jake Hill back into contention, which is why you see such a close finish here with just zero point 0.3 of a second really as they went over the finish line. But all in all, Rory Butcher held his nerve to see that one out. Adam Morgan, who I thought was having a great weekend so far, finishing third. Shed in fourth. Tom Ingram, Ash Sutton, who had a great battle, they finished in fifth and sixth. And Dan Camish, who actually let Ash Sutton he reversed the position on the final lap of the race for the team. And Ricky Collard 8th, Stephen Jelly 9th, and Tom Chilton running up the top 10. So race 1 was action-packed. The first 3 laps, I believe, absolutely action-packed. There was cars getting battered all over the place, and it was the normal kind of rough and tumble of the touring cars that we're used to. Race 2, Jake Hill managed to get this one eventually from Rory Butcher. He just had far too much pace. He looked so racy in that car. I thought he was maybe just going to hold back, but Jake Hill eventually got the move done on Rory Butcher. So he finished second. Shedden was then in the tussle with Rory Butcher, and it looked like Shedden might get the job done on him for a while during the race, but Butcher managed to hold him off for an absolutely brilliant second place. Ash Sutton got fourth. Tom Ingram fifth. Adam Morgan slipped down to sixth after a bit of an odd first few laps. They were getting pushed around at Silverstone with a speed car. It only takes you to get pushed out wide somewhere, of course, for all these cars to fly through. Dan Camish, Josh Cook in 8th. Bobby Thompson in 9th, another great finish for him. And Aaron Taylor-Smith, who had a good weekend as well, finished in 10th. Race 3, Tom Ingram took the win in race 3. Of course, it was a reverse grid. I believe, yes, Josh Cook was the pole sitter for this one. But again, an absolute real challenge for that first position in the first few laps, of tussling all over the camp. Josh fell down the order a little bit, as did a few others. But as you can see, Aaron Taylor-Smith managed to finish again in a decent position in 10th. I think this might have been his best weekend of the season by a fair margin, actually, for Aaron Taylor-Smith. We're on backwards this time since I've started there. Ollie Jackson finishing 9th, which is great for him. Shedden at 8th. Chilton, a good finish for him as well. 7th. Josh Cook, a bit disappointed to finish in 6th. Dan Camish, 5th. Jake Hill, 4th. Rory Butcher for his, as I said earlier, his hat-trick of podiums. He got first, second and third, so this is third. Ash Sutton with an exceptional second, really, because I still don't feel like that car is as quick as Ash and Dan would probably want from that car. But it's yet to be seen. And Tom Ingram getting that was in a really crucial win for the championship, as you'll see. But as you can see by the laps, I think they were originally supposed to be a 21 or 22 lap, 21 lap race, 22 lap race. And we've got 24 laps there. And 25 laps for race 2 and 24 laps for race 1. So as you can see, there was a safety car or two in every single one of those races. And I'll go down the penalties actually while we're on. George Gamble received an official reprimand and has had his licence endorsed by an addition of 2 penalty points for an accident involving Ollie Jackson. Can't really remember there was that much going on. I think he could have hit Ollie Jackson quite hard and turned him actually into a half spin. It could have been going into Brooklands. Dan Camish received an official reprimand, very similar, additional 2 penalty points, and this was for an incident involving Ricky Collard. Again, I don't know if they just got the braking a bit wrong or whatever, but he seemed to run into the side of Ricky, I believe. I'll have to watch that one back. Let us know what you think in the comments, actually. If you've got any opinion at all on any of these, just give us a shout in the comments and we'll get back to you and have a chat with you. Jade Edwards got a verbal warning, a little bit of a slap on the wrist for an incident involving Rick Parfitt. I'm not sure about that one. Could have been a bit of door banging. Or, yeah, but Nick Hamilton in race 2, he received a verbal warning for an accident with Rick Parfitt. We saw that one, he went into the back of him. But I think Rick was complaining about locking up of the rear brakes. Josh Cook received a verbal warning for an incident involving Dan Camish. I'll have to see that one back. There was so much going on, I couldn't take it all in at the time anyway. Rick Parfitt received an official reprimand and has a licence endorsed by an additional 2 penalty points, also for an incident involving Will Powell and Jade Edwards. So all 3 of them ended up in a big scuffle. I think they all ended up off the track actually. That could have been what he was talking about with the rears. He didn't have a hold of the car the whole weekend. He wasn't happy with it. Castrol Powermax Racing had 20 points deducted from its Independent Teams Championship, or Teams and Independent Teams Championship, having had to change the engine, and that's above the number permitted there. So it's just part and parcel. Actually, I think this is what they should do in Formula 1 as well, because then the drivers still have their points, they're not affected, but the teams have been hit by the penalty. Bristol Street Motors with AccelerateTradePriceCars.com, they've had 30 points deducted from its manufacturers, constructors, teams championship scores, having changed an engine above the number permitted also. And there's a couple of notes just from Thruxton. This is probably news that they didn't catch up on from the roundup. Is from Thruxton, easy for me to say. Ash Hand received a verbal warning for gaining an unfair advantage during round 22. I think he cut the chicane there. And I think he managed to get past his teammate Michael Crease at the time. Ricky Collard received an official reprimand and had his licence endorsed by an addition of 2 points for penalty points, of course, for an incident involving Michael Crease and Dan Rowbottom. I believe that was the same. This was all the same incident. This also counted as a strike. So I think this was all the same incident around the chicane at the end of the lap, but I'm sure somebody will prove me wrong if I'm wrong. So we will move on to having a little look at the points as they stand, because we've only got one weekend of the season left, and that's at Brands Hatch, and that's on the 8th and 9th of October, I think. So we'll have a little look at the constructors. So if you look at the constructors, BMW are on 654 points. Motorbase Performance Ford with Napa Racing are 576, and Accelerate with Hyundai 545, 462 with Team Dynamics with Honda, and Toyota down there, who have had a couple of penalties by the look of it. So I think WSR have wrapped up the title as far as the manufacturers goes. I don't know if that's mathematical, but it looks like they'll have it done. Just for the consistency with the points that their 3 drivers have been sticking in. On the drive, this is where it's interesting though. Look at this. Now Rory Butcher, mathematically, mathematically he cannot win the title, Rory Butcher. But it just shows you, just if his luck had changed earlier on in the season, the same with Josh Cook actually, these 2 drivers, if their luck had changed earlier on in the season, it could have been a six-way race at Shedden. I mean, if you divide the points up a little bit more evenly across these 7 drivers, you would have a 7-way title challenge. But we definitely have a 4. And it's interesting because we've got the 2 WSR cars in here. The West Surrey Racing cars are Jake Hill and Colin Turkington. There's only 5 points that separate the top 2. I mean, any one of these drivers get punted or end up off in race 1, or any 2 of these, it throws the title straight back in someone else's hands. And that's what's happened to Colin. Colin was leading the title going into Silverstone, I believe. Someone will possibly prove me wrong with that one, but it was very close. It was close between Turkington, Sutton, and Ingram and Jake Hill were behind a bit. But after this weekend, it's 345 for Ash Sutton, 340 for Jake Hill, 338, only 2 points to Tom Ingram, and 318. So Turkington's got a bit of work to do if he needs a bit of luck on his side. Probably a really good quali. I think the front wheel drive cars will be slightly happier at the Brands Indy track, but who do you think? Who is your money on for this final race at Brands Hatch? That's the big question. Who's going to win this title? If I had to put my money on it, I can't see far past Ash Sutton. Just because he's been there, seen it, done it. Of course, Colin Turkington has as well, but he's a little bit further back, and he's got a little bit of a mountain. He needs a bit of luck. But Ash Sutton's seen these out before. Under pressure, he's done it all before. But it would be lovely to see Tom Ingram or Jake Hill get the championship win. But I can't grudge any of these guys. It's been an absolutely fantastic season, and I can't wait. I can't wait to see it. So, question number one: who's going to win the title? Ash Sutton, Jake Hill, Tom Ingram, or Colin Turkington? And are you going? Are you going to the finale of the Quick Fit British Touring Car Championship, which is in 9 days' time, down at Brands Hatch for the Brands Hatch GP circuit? It's on Saturday the 8th and Sunday the 9th of October, which is only 9 days away, like I've said. And the tickets are very reasonable as well. Actually, we'll have a quick look at them while we're on. Why not? Why not? So let's have a little look. Let's book some tickets. Perfect. So if you want to know what the ticket prices are, I may as well add that in here. Sunday admission, just for the Sunday, is £33 for an adult. Saturday's £20, or you can have them both for £43. Saturday and Sunday for an adult. For 13 to 15-year-olds, it is £12 on the Saturday, or £20 on the Sunday, or £26 for the full weekend. And if you're 13 and under, you get in for free, which is absolutely fantastic. So I've yet to decide whether I'm definitely going to this one or not. I hope I am. If not, I will be doing a watch along like I did for Silverstone. And if so, I'll hopefully get around and chat to a few people at Brands Hatch. But question number one: who's going to win this title? Stick it in the comments, give us a like, subscribe, share with your friends, and I'll see you on the next one. Cheers.